When Joseph died, Israel was still a large extended family settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. But as time went on, they grew into a large nation and were enslaved by the Egyptians. After 400 years in the land, there were nearly 2 million Hebrews living in Egypt, waiting for God to make them into the nation He had promised to their ancestor, Abraham. Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Reverend Said, and today we're going to be reading Exodus chapter 1, verse 1 through 22, a king in Egypt who did not know Joseph. And if you ain't did it already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment on any video on this channel. All right, let's go ahead and begin our reading at Exodus chapter 1, verse 1 through 22. These are the names of the son of Israel, that is Jacob, who moved to Egypt with their father, each with his family: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. In all, Jacob had 70 descendants in Egypt, including Joseph, who was already there. In time, Joseph and all of his brothers died, ending their entire generation. But their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. Eventually, a new king came to power in Egypt, who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. He said to his people, "Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are. We must make a plan to keep them from growing even more. If we don't, and if a war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape the country." So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Rameses as supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the works in the field. They were ruthless in all their demands. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrews' midwives, Shiphrah and Puah: "When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If the baby is a boy, kill him, and if it's a girl, let her live." But because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's order. They allowed the boys to live too. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. "Why have you done this?" he demanded. "Why have you allowed the boys to live?" "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women," the midwives replied. "They are more vigorous and have babies so quickly that we cannot get there in time." So God was good to the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. And because the midwives feared God, He gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave his order to all of his people: "Throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile River, but you may let the girls live." Pharaoh was afraid that the Israelites were becoming so numerous that they would organize and threaten his kingdom. So he made them slaves and oppressed them to kill their spirit and to stop their growth. Slavery was an ancient practice used by almost all nations to employ conquered people and other captives. The great pyramids of Egypt were built with slave labor long before the Israelites were there. Although Israel was not a conquered nation, the people were foreigners and thus lacked the rights of the native Egyptians. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up our program for today. But please join me on the next episode where we'll be reading Exodus chapter 2, verse 1 through 10, the birth of Moses. It's been wonderful having y'all as usual. And until the next time, y'all stay blessed.